Rwanda has set its sight on a bold vision to become the financial center of the African continent.
We have to play a big role to be one of at the center of that development, to make Rwanda a place to do business.
At the core of this economic evolution stands the Rwanda Stock Exchange, RSE, a vital force shaping the country's growing financial ecosystem.
The market cap so far right now is $2.7 billion. That is in equities. If you add the bonds, it goes to around $4.4 billion. So it's about like 25% of GDP.
But how far has the exchange come? And what does the future hold in an era of digital markets, bulls, bears, and borderless capital?
There's hope, that this market will continue to grow, and we are there to stay.
It's 2011. Rwanda's economy is on a steep upward trajectory, growing, reforming, and transforming. Yet, policymakers were already looking beyond aid dependency towards private sector-driven, self-sustaining growth. They introduced a financial tool that would make global headlines and forever reshape Rwanda's economic story.
Rwanda, commonly referred to as a country of 1,000 hills because of its beautiful scenery, yesterday launched Africa's newest stock exchange, seeking to deepen capital markets in one of the region's fastest growing economies.
As the ceremonial bell echoed through the modest trading floor, the Rwanda Stock Exchange was officially born. It marked the beginning of something extraordinary, a true game changer in Rwanda's capital markets.
Back then, it was the time when the government was trying to put in place the capital market ecosystem. So what happened, there was this institution, it was called CMAC. It's just Capital Market Advisory Council. It was just an advisory council that was put in place to come up with a legal framework which is going to govern the capital market in general. Then that institution was in charge just of come up with the drafts of the legal and all that. Then up to 2011 is when they decided then to separate the regulatory body and the market. That's how the stock exchange came, just to take care of these operations of the stock market in general, because the stock exchange is just the market where buyers and sell meet and trade. So it started in 2011.
We had an economy, of course, dominated by the traditional banking sector, which is basically providing short-term financing. So there was a big gap. There still is a big gap for long-term financing. There's a mismatch between the ambition for the country to grow and available resources. So to bridge that gap, you need to put something. So the stock market was part of it. So the stock exchange was created to try to bridge that gap and to raise long-term financing for the economy outside as an alternative source of financing. The capital markets does that. There are platforms which raise long-term financing in the most efficient and the cheapest way possible for economies around there. So the stock exchange in Rwanda was no different when it was created. That's what the purpose was, and we started from putting in place the right instruments to regulate the market, then on board the players, which are the intermediaries, and then also look for business, which were looking for raising long-term financing. That is the companies, and then also government uses that to raise long-term bonds. Before the stock exchange actually came and the stock market started, I would like to say that the government or central bank would only issue bonds up to 1 year, because they were you can't consider that capital market instruments. They are money market instruments at that point. So raising around 1 year money does not provide long-term view to how the cost of money is. So one of the first things we did, we established a good bond market or fixed income market for this to happen. So today, as we speak, from that time we were launching from 1 year to 20 years. Now, actually there's a benchmark for the whole country. There is a yield curve of a period of 20 years. So people can raise money up to 20 years so far. That is government that has done it. We've seen now recent also some corporate bonds coming up from private issuers, and some of them are even SMEs. So that's something very important to stress, to also attract the small medium enterprises to come into the market, also the private players who are not necessarily relying only on the banking sector and other sources of financing.
Soon after its inception, companies began listing one after another. First on board, Rwanda, Rwanda's largest brewery. Speaking to us back then, the managing director at the time, Steven Eric Peterson, stood proud as history was made. Rwanda became the very first company to trade on the local bourse.
Rwanda actually is becoming more and more attractive. It's a growing country with very good prospects, GDP growth. At the moment, the company is owned by the Heineken company for 75%, and for 25% now by the public. We're very happy, very proud that we have new shareholders, almost 4,000. The majority of the shareholders are actually Rwandans. 80% of the new shareholders is Rwandans. For the moment, there's no specific plans to change this shareholding.
But it wasn't just local companies. Regional financial titans followed. In 2015, Equity Group Holdings cross-listed on the RSE.
The inspiration to list in Rwanda Securities Exchange is the legal framework. It's a very friendly legal framework. It's a very smart legal framework, and we see that as an opportunity for us to have the platform for future considerations. That is the biggest motivation. The second one is the reliability and predictability of regulation. Since we came 3 years, because of that reliability and dependability of regulation, which is predictable, you could tell how it will be, we have been able to grow very, very rapidly. And we said this is a framework that we can exploit to position ourselves for the future. The uptake of today's listing, where we saw 25,000 shares trading within a span of just a short period of Equity Bank, again shows the awareness and the readiness of the market to embrace these products.
Rwanda, Rwanda's leading cement manufacturer, joined the wave, anchoring industrial confidence on the exchange.
This occasion marks the start of an exciting journey for all of us at Rwanda as we become part of the Rwanda Stock Exchange family, becoming, as my colleagues have said in the earlier speeches, the 10th company to list on the bourse. And we are really proud of that, achieving that statistic.
And then came the listing of MTN Rwanda, a move that sparked excitement among retail investors across the country.
One of the most wonderful things in driving economic growth that you see in many developed countries is that they have deep capital markets. And part of what we're witnessing today in the young phase of the Rwanda Stock Exchange is a deepening of equity capital markets. The ability to bring in capital formation that supports the economic development of the country. And I think Rwanda is a very well-positioned country to be able to become the hub and the financial center for East Africa. So this listing event may today seem like a small step, but I think we'll look back in time and see that this was the catalyst for others to come onto the stock exchange, deepen capital markets, drive more regional integration, and further expand into the African markets.
Today, 10 companies are listed, spanning sectors from finance and telecoms to industry and manufacturing.
So far, I mean, if we go to the numbers, we look at the 10 listed companies. Over the period, we have raised money in the market between equities and bonds, over close to $3 billion so far. And the market cap so far right now is $2.7 billion. That is in equities. If you add the bonds, it goes to around $4.4 billion. So it's about like 25% of GDP. If you look at the equities markets so far, that is the equities. So the indices, we have two indices. That's the one that is tracking local companies, the RSI, and the all share index that tracks all the equities, including the cross-listed securities. So we have the 10 members who are operational in the market, and a bunch of investors. So far we have investors directly or indirectly who are participating in our market. Active investors, around 100,000 of them. So I think that's a small progress we have. With the adoption of technology, we believe that it's going to even be higher. The number is going to increase quite rapidly, taking into consideration, the Gen Zs also, because they are used to using the technology to access many of the services so far, and we are working on it very actively.
From the early days of cautious optimism, Rwanda's stock market has seen steady, bullish growth. Investor confidence, both local and international, has risen, driven by sound regulation, macroeconomic stability, and market innovation.
The ease of doing business in Rwanda. Some other countries where we operate in might be offended if I say this is one of the best places to do business, not only in Africa, but across the world. And the government of Rwanda, led by His Excellency President Kagame, must be commended for creating the infrastructure and the frameworks for investors to feel confident to place the capital in Rwanda, knowing that they have the investor protections. I think we are witnessing the beginning of a financial center revolution where I would not be surprised that Kigali, leads East Africa. And as regional integration builds and we feed ourselves, into a much greater African kind of inclusion through the free trade area, I think Rwanda will play a super critical role.
Beyond equities, fixed income instruments like treasury bonds have gained traction. Government bond issuances now attract institutional investors seeking consistent returns and portfolio diversification.
We are on the phase of coming with some other product apart from, company coming to list on the stock exchange. It is a platform where business are using to raise funds for expansion, be issuing their shares, issuing the debts. We are having company coming to issue some debts through the corporate bonds. Government is using this platform to raise funds through the treasury bonds, which comes, every month. So it has grown. We have all the legal regulations in place that govern the market. So whatever products comes, there's some regulations that they have to comply with. So, it has grown.
With each closing bell, the market has inched forward, building momentum, deepening liquidity, and reinforcing trust in Rwanda's financial system.
You can't entrust people with your money and for them to manage it for you necessarily without the confidence and the trust that comes with it. So all that is brought together by good corporate governance. So the companies, the seekers of funds, which are typically entrepreneurs, businesses, government, and so on, they are looking for long-term finance, and the investors are looking to invest in a trusted environment. So now to trust the whole thing, there must be a legal framework, there must be procedures and so on, which is trusted. So one of the biggest thing about it is the good corporate governance. The response has been good in the primary market. Second market has been improving, but we need more in the liquidity side because the liquidity is not as much as we would like, especially on the secondary market front. So the investors out there have been positive. Because people who invest in the market have only made money. Actually, 99% have made money.
One of the standout innovations shaping the future of RSE is the SME market segment. crafted to help small and medium-sized enterprises raise capital by listing on the exchange.
For the company to grow, of course, they need long-term funding or source of fund. So when an SME sell out the shares to the public, public give the SME some money to expand their operations. So that's long-term funding. They will do whatever they want to do for the business to move from one stage to another. So, and as we speak, we have a program called Investment Clinic that was, brought by the Rwanda Stock Exchange. This program is designed to help those SMEs, to make them investor ready. So when there's an SME that needs to raise funds or to grow, they come, they are assigned some advisors and they look at their status. Then we try to see the gaps, in their management, corporate governance and all that. Then try them to bridge those gaps. When the SME is ready, everything is clean, then we help them to raise funds, either list on the stock exchange, either private investors, and all that. So the market is not for big people, can be even for those SMEs.
We are working quite well with Rwanda Stock Exchange in their investment clinic. That clinic, which mainly is targeted at taking some of the companies that ordinarily are small or medium, and then you end up building them into successful listings, like we have done with Maiwa grain millers, which have registered or listed a bond last year. And therefore we are going to be showcasing such success stories to really try to reach out to the SMEs to come to the market to utilize the capital markets.
SMEs face a number of challenges that are unique. One of them being, if you need to borrow more, you need to bring more collateral. So this is the classic banking way. But the capital market offers other opportunities to SMEs to raise funds without necessarily using the classic tools, which is why we said it could be the right time now to test something else. One key pillar of the Rwanda Stock Exchange is the investment clinic. We spent 1 year on the stock exchange under the investment clinic. What the investment clinic does basically is to prove you wrong, because all SMEs, we believe we do well, we believe we have structures, we believe we can manage funds. But if you need to grow and graduate to another level, when you face the program, you brought down to understand that you need to improve a lot of things. We started from building up structures that capture the required corporate governance. And after the 1 year, the second cohort, that's when we graduated. And the fact is that we actually performed our first phase at more than 100%. So yes, the approved level of raising money was 5 billion Rwandan francs, and it was split into two parts. The first phase was 3 billion, and within a lapse of 2 weeks, which was given for raising money, we raised 3 billion and 11 million, and we had other offers that we had to drop because there was a ceiling. And the next phase, which is going to be dedicated to animal feed, will be 2 billion Rwandan francs. We have been challenged with this growth journey, which is why among the solutions we try to come up with to raise capital was to approach the Rwanda Stock Exchange to get the right advice on how we could step into the capital market.
This has created a gateway for broader participation, allowing everyday Rwandans to become shareholders and stakeholders in national development.
We want more citizens of Rwanda in the country and in diaspora to play a part in capital markets in Rwanda. We also want to diversify into attracting some foreign investors into our market. So if we have that diversity, it adds to the mixture of investment in Rwanda. The other thing that we also want to do is to, of course, to increase our public education. You realize that of late and since the beginning of mid last year, there's been a lot about capital markets in Rwanda, and we're going to increase that so that, you know, there's a lot of outreach in terms of the programs that you do, the events that you do, information that the investors can actually use to access the capital markets in Rwanda.
From humble beginnings to its current position as a key player in the East African financial ecosystem, the RSE is poised for greater expansion. Plans are underway to digitize trading platforms, increase listings, and deepen capital market integration across the East African community and beyond.
As we develop the systems we are adopting now for technology and trading platforms and analytics and all that, and we are taking into consideration the use of artificial intelligence, of course, inbuilt in systems for trading and identifying investment opportunities. That is us and our members, of course, who are using the markets, and blockchain and all those other technologies that are here and those to come in the future. So we must be at par or actually ahead of the game if need be, because that's where the world is going, competitive and disruptive. So we have to be always on our toes to go with the current trends and the future ones.
For the past year, we had about more than 10 regulations that we have speed up. In 2025, I think we also put up some, including the most important one being the capital markets, the law regulating capital markets. And the importance of all this regulatory ground is to lay a proper regulatory framework for the capital markets. And then after that, I think, or concurrently, we'll also be looking at bringing in more products into the market. We recently approved the REITs, Real Estate Investment Trust regulations for Rwanda Stock Exchange, and also for the ETFs, exchange traded funds. And we are also looking at finalizing, which we have approved in December, the CIU regulations. We have 3 series of regulations for the CIU, and one other thing that we are going to bring up in the regulatory stage is the law regulating funds, because, as you know, Rwanda is strategically setting itself as a destination for funds.
As Rwanda moves forward with its bold ambition of becoming a regional financial hub, powered by the Kigali International Financial Center, the Rwanda Stock Exchange remains a cornerstone of that vision.
Currently, we use mostly money from Rwanda, Rwandan investors, but we look to also tap into international investors to come into the market. So we want really to be a player across the region and beyond in the continent. As we see it, then we become really a proper center, a financial center. Kigali International Financial Center, which was launched recently, we have to play a big role to be one of the at the center of that development, to make Rwanda a place to do business, within the financial markets.
The regulatory framework is in place. There is no question about that. The government supports the ecosystem, so it's up to the business, the issuers, to take advantage of that. So, you know, as we mentioned, we have few products comparing to what we are supposed to be having. So there's a long journey. You know, there's a long journey ahead of us. There's a lot of work ahead of us. So the future is bright for the market. Yeah.
The bears may come and the bulls may run, but the foundation remains resilient.
Well, I think the market is here to stay. It's here for us. It must work for us. We need to be involved. We need to get into a moving economy. The Rwandan economy is moving. It's developing fast. And we need to be part of the movement to get our 2 economies to make sure that we are not left behind, because the moving train you want to get in now. So if you want to get in the market, the time is now, actually, because the country needs you to invest as an investor, as an entrepreneur. You used to trade the capital markets, because the market is here for everyone. So we don't want to leave anyone behind.
With a stable market, a growing investor base, and a forward-thinking regulatory environment, Rwanda's financial journey is only just beginning. And as the bell continues to ring each trading day, its sound resonates, not just across Kigali, but across the continent.